What's going on, folks? My name is Jason, aka Simzims, and aka the Darkling, and yeah, welcome to my channel of the Tokken Edge Raw. And this is basically the making of where my ideas come from and about what I do, and obviously this is insight into all things creative. So this is part 2 of my journey towards developing my brand of Tokken Edge. And I guess I should start off with my comic, as you see before you, the Canine Kings. You may have seen this similar background before in my previous video. I wanted to talk about it then, but I wanted to talk about the beginning process of where I started from, and that was with Boa. You can actually see the video, my previous video. Just go head back and check it there. So yeah, no, I guess I should start off with the beginnings of the Canine Kings, my comic. It was an idea I had so long ago, taking the inspiration of animated feature films, cartoons, and American Tale. That was one of my first ones, my first loves. And I wanted to tell a story that was true to itself, but at the same time was relatable. And I wanted to really bring forth a Disney-esque feel, but also keep a more of a mature feel. And I thought, well, how best to really push that? Because I know if I was to develop a mature comic, I know sometimes my viewership would be limited, because if you're selling an M-rated or very an adult themed comic, you know that obviously there's some age restrictions regarding that. But it was something that was quite an interesting transition, because you would have to balance the two and you'd have to compromise somewhere. But I always feel that you have to keep on the trajectory of where you want to go. I wanted to have something that was, I wanted to have the freedom, and I think having a comic book that was mature, it allowed me to be as free as possible, to not feel to be hindered in terms of restrictions of what I can say, what I can't say. So if you can imagine a cartoon comic glossed over, but in the inside there's a lot of dark elements, you know, corruption, violence, swearing, nudity, all of those things. Although I'm not saying it's going to be featured in the comic, I'm just saying that might be something that possibly might feature down the future. But yeah, the Canine Kings, let's talk about this one. But basically it started off from, it was an idea I had many years back. I'd say close to 2010, I think it was, and I was aspiring 2010, 2011, and I was really drawing bits and pieces. It was kind of like a loose idea with me, and I wasn't sure how I was going to really go about it. And I remember I was talking to a friend of mine at work, Patrick, and I just had this idea, and about how I was going to develop it, I don't know, but it was there, but I just didn't know how to execute it. And I think sometimes with myself, when I've got an idea, I let it fester. I sometimes don't immediately execute it, because I'm even planning it ahead in my head, because I want to see how it works. But with all good ideas, it's always good to write it on paper, just so you've got some visual aid. So that's exactly what I did. So I developed it, and I was developing it for a long time, and I guess there's a good part of my developing process through the years. I was with another company. I won't talk so much about the other company, because let's just say it didn't end the way I thought it would, because I left that company. But in me pursuing bringing my feature comic and opening my brand of Tokken Edge, and that was where it started from. So I developed the idea further on, and whilst I was in this relative company, and upon obviously leaving, I had to make sure to do all the research of what it was I needed to have done in terms of the comic, what it needed. I needed to make sure my company name was filed under my name, that had to be a barcode that you can register my name company under. Obviously you had to find out the costs, how much the printing would be, pages, setup, layout. It was so much, and I tell you what, it was such a learning curve really developing that. I think for a whole year, I literally was just, before I even set up my comic, just putting it all together. And yet it was just sort of like, okay, what am I going to do? So that's what I was sort of planning that. I was planning that even before I went to the sort of the whole drawing part of it. Afterwards, obviously I started developing the ideas. It was free-formingly, and again, I had a very acute way I wanted to do, but I just didn't know how to execute it. And that's when I thought I needed a writer. And that's when I discovered a guy called Darwood Grace, who actually co-directed a film called It's a Lot alongside Femi Oyenirin, and great people. Basically, they developed the film, and I reached out to him via Facebook, and I wanted to meet up with him. I said, I love the film, which I actually did. A great film, and I thought if we could meet. And as we met, actually, I didn't think he'd respond back, because sometimes you think to yourself, people in the film industry or in that creative commercial field sometimes are busy networking so many places, so you didn't think that obviously he would have time. So one moment I came back from work, and I looked at my message, and I thought, oh, a response from Darwin, and yeah, he wanted to meet. And I thought, wow, okay. So we set up a meeting, met up in somewhere in London. I think it was Oxford Circus, around that area. And yeah, we had a great meeting. Showed him the ideas. It was very, very loose. It was just really a character models of the character, but I told him the synopsis, and yeah, he was on board. And I remember after the meeting, he said to me, Jason, no matter what, if this doesn't succeed, or if there's any problem that you find, don't give up on that first hurdle. Keep on going, because you're always going to find something. But the important thing is, you've got an idea, a good idea, a great idea, you keep developing it. And I took those words. And again, when you're working full time and you're doing developing comic, really and truly, it is very, very hard. It is, you have to sacrifice time, meeting up with friends, I remember times, heading back from work, heading back home, and just developing the idea, and knowing full well that you have to also save a little money so that you're paying for things here and there. And I remember at the time, obviously with Darwood, we had to work out a price fix over there, or what I could work, and fortunately it's very good. And again, it's always being very meticulous in what you need to do. And again, I'm a person of my word, and I wanted to make sure that I was paying him the amount, and also developing the ideas. And it didn't feel like it was going to end, because you're trying to make it the first issue perfect. You're trying to make sure it all worked out well, because again, that first issue, the writing, the dialogue, the imagery, the color, everything for me was just had to work. If it didn't, then almost like you missed that. It's the first step, and I just couldn't allow myself to do that. I just had to make sure I was doing. It was like developing. It's my personal project. It was exciting, but it was nerve-wracking at the end. I remember the moment I came towards the very end. Once I've obviously storyboarded the whole thing, and storyboarding. Let me show you. This is an example of I won't show you so much. This is issue number 2, as you can see. And again, it's just the process of developing, and as you're developing, again, he wrote the dialogue, and when you write in the dialogue, again, it helped me to cut it out and place it onto the page so that you can actually see, and it makes for where the type was going, who was going to say what, where. And this is all getting it all in rough, so that when you produce it on the Mac, on the digital, then you know what goes with what's being said, who's being said. And again, this was a learning curve. And this was a learning curve for Darwood as well, because this was his first foray into the comic book world as such. So it was kind of like, okay, let's go and jump in. So as we're developing that, again, making sure the colors, everything was right. I had to find a printer, and that was eventually I found a printer. It was a bit of a nuisance, because I was going back and forth with one person, and it's very hard sometimes when you're emailing each other. Communication, that's very important. So eventually I found a printer that was doing it, and they sent out the first rough draft of the comic, which is also important, because then you look through it all, make sure everything's okay, you're fine with it, make sure the wording, everything, then you say, okay, cool, got it, I'm happy, go with it. And then they printed out, and I remember the time when I got home and there was a package for me and the comics arrived. I was on top of it. I thought, this is it. This is my way to sort of push my brand out there. And with that alone, I just sort of announced it to everyone on social media. I announced it to friends, family, workmates, everyone that I knew. And I remember even previous, I had organized a launch for my comic at Vauxhall Spitalfield Market, where I was selling my comic. It was, imagine, the whole table I had to me, and the table I had the first runs of all the comic. You can go actually to my Instagram, which is the Creative Tank, which is at _creative_tank, and that's my Insta. And you can see some photographs previous, go down, of Spitalfield Market and where I was at. So it was great. I remember my mom came and my aunt, they were very happy, they were very supportive, and friends came, had photographs of them, and that's what the format was. And then I learned from then. I was taking photographs, selling, and it was great to get that feeling of ownership. And that was the first thing I said. Ownership is the key when you're self-publishing your work. Even if it's comics, or it could be anything, music, books, anything, food, anything you've got your own product of. It's about ownership, because again, it's all about what you deserve, because you put the work in. So it's important that you reap the rewards of that. And again, it was it's very, very tricky, and very, because obviously with that you've got to make sure everything's accountable for, the numbers, the figures, again, accountancy. And I mean, again, I had a very nightmarish episode, only because, again, when you're working full-time, some things get neglected, and that was one of the things that I said I would never go do. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year 2020, first video of the year. So so Happy New Year to you all. But yeah, back to the story. I was very, like I said, very happy with what I had, having the support. That's was important. And then sending my comic out, and then through that alone, I thought, okay, well, I've got a comic, but again, it can't sell itself. You need more stuff out there. So obviously I hadn't made a list, and as I'm doing right now, posters, stickers, mugs, merchandise. Merchandise is the important thing. And then obviously with myself, I think so much above, outside the box, because I've got a brand, Tokken Edge, which I'm developing right now. But also I plan to release other titles under that brand, things that are going to be very different, and it's important for me to have ownership of them all. And this would be stuff that I'll be developing over the course of time. But yeah, I've learned the important thing of creativity, and making sure when I'm telling the story, or when I'm telling stories, that it communicates well enough, that my audience members love it. I would never put out something that I wouldn't like. And even then, I make sure to right those wrongs previously, and make sure I step up, and make sure the second issue or whatever I'm doing next is just as better, because I'm always about improving. And yeah, so for me, when I had the comic, I didn't have the website, and I thought, well, that was one thing I needed to do. So as well as having my own personal website, I needed to have a website for the brand, and that was when, again, as you can see, you can see, so Tokken Edge. Let me see. Let me get closer there. So yeah, again, as you can see, all of my Insta stuff is linked with my website, which is an important thing. Always link your social medias together if possible. I know you've got to be very, very careful, but again, if it's all a case of getting yourself out there, it's important that everyone is easy and accessible for people to get you, whether it be website, internet, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Everyone needs to be connected. So again, home, comics, and again, like I said, there's other projects that I plan to release. As you can see, Project K9 Kings, that's my first one. We're going to go. And again, I've got, like, obviously, I made sure I had a description of the storyline. Well, the storyline, yeah, I suppose the storyline is there, and the character sets of what is there. Again, a little shot of my work, my when I was at Spitalfield Market and the setup, and yeah, the plan is really just to really develop the website more often, more material, more merchandise, and make sure people know that it's very easy to access. Yeah, obviously go back to the previous page. Obviously, you've got doing development, project 2, project 3, project 4, project 5. Now these are things obviously in development. I'm going to keep them to myself. I know exactly what they're going to be, but obviously the fun is obviously for you to speculate and wonder what they are. But again, I want to make each one as different as possible. I've got big plans for the K9 Kings. I mean, hopefully I would love this to be an animated feature film. Very much in the line of again, Oliver and Company cross with the Lion King, cross with I'm gonna go really left field with this, a Martin Scorsese movie, because the content is very dark. Well, light on the outside, dark on the inside, and again, dealing with subject matters. Then you're talking about police dogs that are in a working city that are trying to coordinate, keep in line the criminal activities that are in London. So again, with all of that, there has to be an element of the realness. Again, violence doesn't sell, but again, at the same time, it's all about, for me, putting out that real feel. Yeah. So that really boils down to it, really. There's nothing really I can say, but the comic, again, one more time, comic K9 Kings, developed by myself, co-written with Darwood. Very happy with it, very happy it came out. When it sold loads. I still got a few issues left, and I've got a limited edition one which comes with a secret present inside, as well as the K9 Kings comic. So if for those that are interested, please go heading down to the link. And yeah, thank you for watching. I'm very much out of water practicing this whole talking to the camera on YouTube, because most creatives are very much more about the pen and paper. They don't necessarily have to are fixated about image, me. No, my me comes into this. This is where my love comes in. This is where my passion, my thoughts are in. You know, my creativity. That's where I want to be known so much as. I'm not so much worried about my face or me. I'm just worried about making sure that I put across a good content for people to look and buy. Again, 2020 is a big year. I plan to end it bigger. The things I didn't do or didn't execute as well as I wanted to be previous year, but make no mistake, having left that last year, I'm going through this year with a bang. Henceforth, that's why I'm releasing this video right now. It's 12 o'clock right now, so by the time I load it might be 2nd of January. But no, all I say to those people in the creative field, don't stop, keep going. It gets hard, trust me, it gets hard. You might run into obstacles. You run into people that will say or give you the impression that you can't do it. I've had people in the past that said that. I've had people that have had sly digs because of the way I work, and sometimes they second guess who you are. And they sometimes think that you're not capable of what you are. But trust me, there are many people out there that I've met that might not be or lack the confidence in the social skills, much like myself. But through that development, they will find a strength within them that, like I've said many times, and that they can get through the hardest of ships. And like I said, I'm a proven testament of that. I want to develop this channel very much so. I just want to drive good content, develop a lot more. Yeah, that's all I can say for now, really. I might do a second part of this, you know. I might go a little bit into like the colors and the style of and what goes doubly into K9 Kings, just to give like the round of that first comic impression. But yeah, no, I'm proud, I'm happy. But again, I want to go harder this year. I plan to hopefully release issue 2, which I'm developing right now. Issue 3, as well as another secret project, and a lot more material. It's going to be a very rammed year. It's going to be a very rammed year, but I think yeah, I'm capable of it. And if you want something that much, you go and get it. And like I said, it's all about the hustle. And to be honest with you, I think it's about time the independent creators come up above and show what most of these commercial folk, that, you know, we can stand toe to toe with anyone as well. So yeah, so with that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you if you stayed to the end of this video. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, till next time, I will hopefully do a second part to, one more time, the K9 Kings. And yeah, and with that being said, thank you, peace, and remember, keep it creative. Peace, bye.